the MA-17 Flamethrower, the new free flamethrower added to the game. For all of you that have missed out on the BBQ DLC, this is the weapon for you. This is a secondary weapon, and you can find the stats right here. Overall, nothing too out of the ordinary. You'll find that it's very similar to the already existing flamethrower. So in addition to the new flamethrower, Overkill has also implemented a few changes to flamethrowers in general. Their damage was halved from 14 to 7 in exchange for triple the ammo, from 600 to 1800. This is also reflected in the magazine size, so you're getting a much larger magazine. The dev's reasoning for this was to make people less inclined to tap fire and more inclined to just hold the trigger. So I'll get into how that affects the flamethrowers on the highest difficulty, but for now let's just take a look at the MA-17. So this flamethrower, like I mentioned, is a secondary weapon, which opens up a lot of options for primaries. You can go crazy with a minigun flamethrower combo for the ultimate close-range mob killing setup, or maybe something even like a sniper and a flamethrower, weapons that complement each other well because they both make up for the other's weaknesses. Now, as I've mentioned, there's nothing too special about the MA-17. It takes most of the same mods as the previous flamethrower. You can have a damage increasing mod at the cost of ammo, or an ammo increasing mod at the cost of damage. Going for full damage can put you up to 14.7 damage, and going for full ammo, which includes the ammo boost, can put you at a whopping 1,820 ammo. Now, that's a lot of fire to spew. As you've probably noticed though, I went for the crit flamer route. For the primary, it was very difficult because the concealment on the flamethrower wasn't so great. But with this new secondary flamer, Overkill probably realized that a lot of ding-dongs out there like their crit flamer, so they made it incredibly easy to achieve. With the concealment mod and the concealment boost, you can get up to 21 concealment on the MA-17, which makes it fairly easy to acquire a decent amount of crits without needing to ace low blow. With my current setup, I can get down to 7 visibility, I believe, so I'll leave a link to my current build in the description. So overall, it's a fairly solid option. The MA-17 won't lose to its paid predecessor, which should be exciting news for people that don't yet have that particular DLC. Now, let's talk about the general effectiveness of flamethrowers for the highest difficulty, Death Sentence. On lower difficulties, the flamethrowers are pretty laughably overpowered, but then again, what isn't? So the real judge of its usefulness has to be done on Death Sentence, or maybe even Death Wish. And from my experience, it feels somewhat disappointing. Overkill's decision to make the flamethrowers weaker but more spammy goes against everything that most people want in a weapon from this game. In this game, the weapons that are king are the efficient hard hitters. There's rarely a place for weak weapons with more versatility. Due to how the difficulty is handled in this game, there's really no reason to use weapons like this. In a game with better design, weapons like this would be useful for trash mobs, but weak against stronger targets, in which case other weapons would compensate for this with weaknesses of their own. Unfortunately, there are too many weapons in this game that can cover all the roles, whether it be trash mob killing, high health enemy takedown, short range combat, long range combat. There's just too many weapons that excel at everything, which makes it hard to justify use of a flamethrower. Flamethrowers have extremely limited range, meaning it's only barely usable on some levels, and even on some levels only in some locations. And this weapon, unlike projectile weapons, also has no ability to score headshots. In this game, everything is built around headshot multipliers and breakpoints, and having a weapon that can't attain any headshots is a huge detriment to its combat ability. Enemies like tasers and cloakers have a stupidly large amount of health, but the reason why they can be taken down quickly is because they retain a fairly high headshot multiplier for damage. Without that, weapons are woefully ineffective against them unless it just so happens to have a high amount of burst damage, like explosives. With flamethrowers though, it's going to take forever to try and kill specials. And don't even try to use it for bulldozers. Crits help alleviate some of the issues, but it will still be really inefficient for special units in general. So if we were to compare flamers to the LMGs, LMGs just blow them out of the water. LMGs have good ammo, they're efficient at close quarters, and they're great at taking out trash mobs. That's everything that the flamethrowers are good at. But in addition to that, they can take bipods, which makes them useful for long range, and they're much more efficient at killing specials. The only thing that the flamers have is that they ignore enemy density, and what I mean by that is flamers don't really care if an enemy is in front of another enemy. So long as they're both within range, it'll do damage to anything that it can reach. So that makes it exceptional for the rare occasions in which enemies are funneled in and start massively occupying the same space, kind of like in Cook-Off. So, you know, the MA-17, it's not terrible. It can be useful in some situations, but it just doesn't rock my socks off, and I don't really see myself using it much in the future. Also, I don't really get what's up with the whole moderately awesome company that they had to slap on the side. It feels really awkward and really out of place. But, you know, overall, what I'm more disappointed with in general is just the whole update. You know, ever since Payday's been out, Overkill has given us seasonal events that add content, which includes summer events. So far for this summer, we've got recolors for enemies that I don't think anyone really asked for, and a reskin of a weapon that we already have. I guess, you know, if it hasn't been apparent to you already, should be now. This game is on its last legs. It was pretty disappointing not getting any attempt at some meaningful content, but it is what it is. Maybe it's still early, maybe they'll have a late summer event, who knows. But I just hope that the stuff that they are focusing on is going to be decent.